Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. There's been a bunch of new Superman trailer footage the last couple weeks, some new details they just released also confirm some big Justice League Easter eggs for the new version of the team that James Gunn is setting up in this movie, as well as what's going on with that power suit that seems like it's being created by Lex Luthor. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. This is just the beginning, like they're just ramping up with all the Superman marketing the next couple months. We will see who winds up winning the box office this summer, because we have Fantastic Four and Superman literally coming out right at the same time, and the Jurassic World movie too. There have been a lot of questions since they started releasing footage about what's happening with the future of the DCU, where's this all headed. James Gunn has started talking about their long-term plans in the next 5 to 6 years. In the next 4 or 5 years or so, we should see that next big Justice League team-up movie. They're calling it an event movie, like he didn't call it a Justice League movie, just a giant crossover event, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame style. Basically, that's what it amounts to, like them actually putting a Justice League team together and then facing some giant universe-altering threat. That's if everything goes according to plan these next couple of years, but they've already changed some of the plans since he released his original DC Chapter 1 video teasing how he was going to reboot everything a couple years ago when they first announced that he was going to do all these reboots. So do not be surprised if the slate of movies, like the actual schedule for which movies are coming out when, which characters get debuted when, changes quite a bit over the next couple years. But they've been releasing more and more footage of Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific, all wearing their similar super suits with minor color differences based on their comic book costumes. Obviously, a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about the actual costumes in the movie, like these suits look like Guardians of the Galaxy type suits. Most people not a huge fan of what's going on here, and for the most part, I assumed that it was actually going for a more goofy vibe on purpose, more like Justice League International references, just because it's Guy Gardner, Nathan Fillion, Green Lantern, and Guy Gardner was on the Justice League International. That team was also run by Maxwell Lord back in the day, and all their super suits, like zoom in and enhance here, have Maxwell Lord's company logo on their chests.
Going to be Guy Gardner, a Green Lantern, not the one you might be used to, but a Green Lantern, the one nobody likes.
In the DCU, this is Maxwell Lord's team that he's running with his company money, like he's funding their team, and that's why all their suits look similar. But now we finally got some answers, some confirmation about what's going on with their team during the actual movie. Like, are they meant to be an actual Justice League Easter egg? Like, what's going on here? So there's a new listing for official merchandise that calls their team the, get it here, Justice Gang, which does feel very much like the Temu version of the Justice League. Now, the reason why James Gunn isn't outright calling them the Justice League or some derivative Justice League team with League in the actual title, like calling them Justice League International, is because according to him, James Gunn, when this movie takes place, it's like around Superman year 2, year 3, like very early in his career, but it's not an origin story kind of movie. On this Earth, the actual concept of the Justice League, like the actual idea, isn't even a thing yet. Like it has never existed. There is no older Justice League or like some previous version of the team. Now, he didn't say anything about the Justice Society. Canonically in the comics, they are meant to predate the Justice League. They kind of got into that concept during the Zack Snyder DCEU era with the Black Adam movie, with that version of the Justice Society that was still meant to be DCEU canon in that film because it was Henry Cavill's Superman still. That was all part of a separate plan that was the pre-James Gunn regime that was running the DC movies. Like that group of people running those films had a completely different plan for the future of the DC movies. It was still going to be all the Zack Snyder DCEU Justice League team members with some changes to like Batman, for instance. Ben Affleck was going to disappear into the multiverse during the Flash movie. That movie was generally meant to set up a big Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, which was going to be their 10-year Justice League plan. Like they were going to build up with DCEU movies like Man of Steel 2, bunch more Henry Cavill films, bunch more Batman films, but with Michael Keaton's Batman replacing Ben Affleck in the main universe, a bunch of that version of Supergirl showing up in movies, eventually culminating in a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, probably multiple movies, because they wanted to build up to their own Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. My assumption is that that version would have probably tried to be a little more comic book accurate than the DC TV CW version, just because they weren't able to get all the cameos they wanted, for obvious reasons, during the TV shows.
Can I help you?
There's been a lot of talk about that version just basically having absolutely no money to pay any of the actors for cameos, so most of the people that showed up did so for free. James Gunn was then hired, famously, like the big tipping point was Henry Cavill, the Black Adam movie, with him releasing that video within like a week of him announcing that he was coming back for more Man of Steel after the post-credit scene. Then right after that, them making the James Gunn announcement, him basically saying that he was getting rid of Henry Cavill, like he was recasting the character with the David Corenswet version of Superman. He was going to restart his DCU Justice League from scratch, starting with this Superman movie, like slowly putting it together, but not actually putting it together nearly as fast as Zack Snyder tried to do with Batman v Superman right after the Man of Steel movie. So really, we're talking more of like a 4 or 5 year slow setup plan. James Gunn is planning on introducing all the characters, developing them first, then putting them on the team together, instead of just like ramping up straight from Superman to Justice League within a couple of years. The other big obvious change is that James Gunn isn't going to just redo the same roster of the Justice League as Zack Snyder. One of the reasons why he's doing this getting like this Temu version of the Justice League, is that some of these characters will probably wind up on the new A-list Justice League once it does form, like Hawkgirl, for instance. My early theory is that at some point by the end of the Superman movie, what they'll do is there'll just be some reference to Superman needing his own team to help him. Because the way that James Gunn explains it, he's been active as Superman, like he's already come out to the world as the Superman identity and started saving people all over the place for a couple years at this point, and he's gotten to know a lot of the other superheroes that are active on the planet. James Gunn said that his relationship with most of them is relatively friendly, but like some of them he's not super hot on, and some of the other superheroes don't like him that much either. We'll probably get some loose vibes of that during this movie, just in general, just because there's so many superheroes that are going to be in this in different ways. But at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if some character makes a reference to him needing his own support team, like needing a team on a more regular basis to help him with things, and that's what they leave it at. Like, nobody actually mentions the term Justice League at all.
Avengers!
Just based on the characters that they're setting up in the Superman movie, I'm expecting the full Justice League will look more like the roster of the animated version, which is just an easy way for him to differentiate it from Zack Snyder's Justice League, just using different characters in general. He already teased most of the characters during Creature Commandos, like we talked about this a couple months ago if you watched that series. Like the new version of The Flash, it seems like it's going to be on that team, will be the Wally West version, because that's the version that shows up here on screen next to the other main versions like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman that you know are going to be on that Justice League roster. So in this universe, one of the other big changes is that Barry Allen might be slightly older, just to explain why it's Wally West on the team and not Barry Allen. And the same thing during the upcoming live-action Green Lantern HBO series with Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan, way older, so it'll probably wind up being Jon Stewart who's on that Justice League roster. He was also on the animated version of the roster too. And the other big Easter egg that we talk about all the time is that Michael Rosenbaum, a lot of people have forgotten, was Wally West during the animated Justice League series. Most people just think of Lex Luthor when they think of Michael Rosenbaum. We will see if James Gunn lets him cameo as some other character in one of these upcoming DC movies at some point. Speaking of Lex Luthor, though, another big Easter egg, a lot of theories about who's inside this power suit that we see in the movie. We got like a much better look at it in the actual behind-the-scenes trailer they released a little while ago on Superman Day. He's referred to in the Daily Planet newspapers they're all reading in the trailers as the Hammer of Baravia, which reads like he's terrorizing downtown Metropolis at some point in the movie. Baravia is also the same country that's in all those wars during the trailers, this same foreign country where this conflict is going on. And supposedly, it's Lex Luthor who's behind that war because he wants to control the country for some money reason. So a lot of people are like, what if it's just Lex Luthor inside that power suit? But apparently, it's actually going to be the evil Superman clone that he controls inside that suit. Based on reports, this actual scene of the Hammer of Baravia in the power suit is happening earlier in the movie, and it's just the evil Superman clone wearing the suit before he puts on the black suit that we see in all the other footage too. My assumption is they just have him put on the black suit before they go to the Fortress of Solitude and before he starts fighting Superman one-on-one. Those big fights probably happen a little bit later in the movie.
14 fractured bones.
Damage to bladder, kidney, large intestine, lungs.
That's also probably how Superman just gets the crap kicked out of him. Who could make Superman bleed like that but another Superman who has the exact same power level? But everyone, let me know in the comments if they're slowly starting to set up the brand new version of the Justice League and it's going to be good 4 or 5 years before we actually see them come together. Which other characters do you want to see on that team, and who do you think we'll actually see the next couple of years? The way that James Gunn has talked about it, he's waiting a little bit longer to introduce the new version of Wonder Woman that's not Gal Gadot and the new version of The Flash that will obviously not be Ezra Miller. The way he's explained it, he's waiting a little bit longer to reintroduce those versions of the characters just because they don't fit into the actual story that he's doing right now. So we will see what kind of Easter eggs happen in the background too. Like, I'm just expecting more background references to a lot of these other characters before we actually see them on screen. Like, even though he hasn't actually recast The Flash, for instance, Wally West or even Barry Allen, they are still active currently in this universe, so there has to be some sort of reference to them in some upcoming live-action project at some point, even if you don't see them on screen. We will probably get some more footage of that live-action Green Lantern HBO series soon, so I'll do videos for that as soon as we do. They're supposed to be releasing the next big Superman trailer in the next couple weeks, so of course I will do more videos when they release more footage. Be sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss it. I just did a much bigger video on all the brand new characters they revealed in the behind the scenes trailer. Click here for that, and click here for all my Thunderbolts videos. That movie also coming out next week too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.